Global shock, Jamie Dornan's new love divides the world. The photo that started the storm. A blurry photo taken during a sudden downpour on a London night sent the world into a state of emotional emergency. Jamie Dornan appeared in the foyer of the Maritime Museum, where a fundraising gala was taking place, wearing a long black coat, walking briskly under a flashlight. Next to him was a woman in a silver gray coat, her hair falling to one side, covering half her cheek. They weren't holding hands, but they were close enough for the internet to measure in pixels. Within 30 minutes, the hashtag Jamie Mystery was trending in more than 24 countries. Within 6 hours, international newspapers were shouting, "Jamie Dornan unexpectedly dating stranger. What's going on?" And by morning, before the sun had broken through the overcast clouds over the city, the debate had split the fanbase into two opposing camps. No announcement, no denial, just one photo, and apparently, that was enough. City of cameras. Jamie has lived for years in a world where every eye is a lens. He is used to the flashy questions. What's the secret to balance? Does fame change the heart? He answers deftly, smiling calmly and keeping the gray areas of his life private. But fame is not a constant thing. It's like a wave that comes in, pushes out, and then crashes again, and when a new wave brings a mysterious face, the audience feels as if they have been stripped of some invisible ownership of their idol. On the forums, people wrote, "We've been with him for years, we have a right to know." Inside the small kitchen of the apartment overlooking the Thames, just as the third hashtag of the day was being used, Jamie's phone buzzed incessantly. Mara, his manager, placed a file on the table. "We need an answer." "For who?" Jamie asked, his voice low and tired. "For all the people who think they owe you love," Mara replied. "And all the people who think you owe them the truth." The girl without a file. That night, a small article in the arts section inadvertently escalated the turmoil. The woman walking beside Jamie was said to be Alara Quinn, a researcher of ancient papers and manuscripts who was collaborating with the museum on a nautical chart exhibition. She had no social media accounts, no profile picture, no digital footprint. That invisibility helped her shine. Fan pages were divided. Let them love each other in peace. He chose a normal person. That's his right. He owes us clarity. Don't sell ambiguity as a visual strategy. Overnight, people copied every frame, exaggerated every gesture, recreated the direction of gaze, the speed of stride, the distance between shoulder blades. Someone even wrote a thesis on body language in 2.7 seconds right in front of the car door. Jamie turned off her phone. Rain was still falling lightly on the balcony. London was lit by flashing lights. A bowl of soup and a delicate fringe. Alara knocked on the door as the kettle made its final boil. She placed a brown paper bag on the counter. "I made white bean soup. If you like." Jamie laughed. "The world is arguing, and you bring soup." Alara shrugged. "I only know how to mend torn clothes and feed the hungry." The two of them ate in silence, the sound of spoons hitting bowls like falling rain. Alara talked about the salty smell of old paper when she brought it to her nose, about the traces of salt hidden in the paper fibers, about maps that had passed through centuries as if time had become human. Jamie talked about the windy beach scene, about how he never regained his ideal weight after a role that required him to lose too much weight. "I don't want to make my life into a headline," he said, holding a hot ceramic mug. Alara looked straight at him. "No one can make your life into a headline if you don't let them cut the first line." The shortest newsletter in the world. The next morning, at Mara's request, an 86-word statement was sent out. Jamie focused on her new project, valued her privacy, and was grateful to her fans. The media called it the shortest newsletter in the world, so short that it said nothing. But silence is sometimes the longest answer. It allows both sides to write their own sequels, the respectful silence, the truth-seeking side increasingly skeptical. The polarization turned into a storm. Talk shows invited psychologists to analyze the syndrome of loving celebrities as if they owned them. A tabloid ran an article with an illustration of a heart stretched between two lenses. Mara sighed, "We need a compass." Jamie smiled, "I have a map." Alara? What she fixed wasn't just paperwork, Jamie said, then paused, as if afraid that if he said more, his words would lose their value. Maps, lighthouses, and captions. The exhibition, Letters from the Shore, Port, Shipwreck Return, opens quietly on a misty afternoon. Alara is a co-curator, signing each caption with a small Q. In the center of the room is an untitled map, Chart of the Unknown Coast, circa 1680. Beneath it is a caption that has gone viral. The map is a disguised declaration of love. You are here. You can get there. And here is how to cross deep waters without losing yourself. The words were recorded, placed next to a photo of Jamie walking under an umbrella, and became a meme that spread as an urgent message. Some called it a hymn to privacy. Others countered, the aestheticization of silence is a form of manipulation. Amid the controversy, an independent podcast by journalist Estelle Chow was passed off as a calm voice in a fire alarm. We want him to be a testament to the good things. If he dates a celebrity, he's vain. If he dates a normal person, he's pretending to be deep. We're not arguing about him. We're arguing about our own fears. The podcast climbed to the top of the charts. The next day, the internet returned to its old rhythm. Loud, rushed, extreme. An answer he didn't post. That night, in the attic, hiding from the media storm, Jamie wrote a letter he didn't send. I didn't fall in love with a normal person to repair my image. I've avoided love for years because I was afraid my image would reveal the truth. If I was wrong, it was because I thought a public apology would be enough to regain my privacy. He wrote Alara's name once and then erased it. Not out of shame, just because he wanted to say it privately. He folded the paper into a paper boat, dropped it in the sink, and turned on the faucet. The boat drifted for a long time before sinking. He watched, smiling faintly, so silence can swim. The ripple. We can't live in this gap forever, Alara said one pale afternoon. I don't want to be the silence between your headlines. What do you want me to do? Jamie asked. Choose, but don't demand my anonymity at the cost of your peace. The line had drawn a line. Not shadow light, but people crowd. That night, the slogan changed to no slogan can stop the size of two people sitting across from each other in a narrow kitchen. The hardest question. Jamie accepted Estelle's interview. The radio studio was as silent as a chapel. What do you owe your fans? Estelle asked. I owe them what they've bought. A job, a role, a story well told, Jamie said slowly. I don't owe them my mother's sadness, my lover's breakfast, or my sleepless nights. What about Alara Quinn? She's not an act, Jamie said. We met for a piece of paper, stayed for an answer. Are you in love? We're trying. Estelle paused. I know this answer will be swallowed. I know, Jamie nodded. But if I can't say a word in the middle of a storm, I don't deserve to monologue on camera. The conversation was broadcast. The world wasn't any kinder. But that night, someone turned off the phone, wrote an email apologizing to an ex. That alone was enough to heat up a corner of the screen. The backlash rang out. The taunts grew louder, romanticizing secrecy, weaponizing privacy. One editor wrote, he wants credit for not speaking out. Please. Mara stood between the phone and the storm, counting her breaths. Alara excused herself from the museum for a moment. Not for him, she told her boss. Because paper needs a steady hand. The next morning, a bouquet of dried flowers arrived, along with a note, no illusions for sale. The signature ink was glitter. Hatred knows how to apply makeup. The lighthouse. Jamie returned to the studio with a supporting role, a wartime lighthouse keeper who defied orders to turn off the lights because ships were still at sea. He took a pay cut and asked to act in real rain and wind scenes. The knot in the rope left a mark on his hand, and the director said, "That mark is for you." One afternoon, he found Alara sitting on a rock, wearing a woolen cap and scarf. She didn't wave, she just stared out to sea, as if she were stuck in some other era. "You should be here," Jamie said when he approached. "I want to see the lights," Alara replied, "to remember that there are houses that are supposed to be awake." "I told you," Jamie chuckled. "And you can say more. Do you want to?" He didn't answer aloud, he held out his hand. She put hers on it. Gratitude. At the film press conference, the questions were lively. Jamie answered about methods, about sets, about props. Then a voice from the back row rang out, "Do you love Alara Quinn?" The room was silent, as if all the oxygen had been sucked out. "Yes," Jamie said, looking down at the wooden floor. "I do." "Can you give me a timeline?" "I don't sell timelines. The timeline is ours. But the truth is mine, and I am tired of renting it." The hashtag Team Respect Camp exploded. The hashtag Team Truth Camp suddenly slowed down. Some people switched to hashtag Fair Boundaries. Not everyone apologized, but the general temperature dropped a degree. The wedding was unaffected. There was no announcement, no cover photo, no live stream. One windy afternoon, under the oaks of Port Eden, 10 friends, 2 old rings, and a promise no one had ever heard before. "Jamie, I will not demand your silence in exchange for my peace." "Alara, when I am afraid of noise, I will tell you first, not the world." They ate soup at the long wooden table. One bowed, one cried. The sea kept moving. Continuity is a blessing. A week later, someone posted a picture of a tree with 2 birds perched on a hollow branch. The caption read, "There is a wedding here. I can't see it, but I feel it." The picture circulated for a while and then subsided, like a paper boat finding calm water. After the storm, the weather. The division did not go away, it changed. Some still blame Jamie for choosing a life of non-acceptance. Some people still breathe a sigh of relief when they learn that their hearts are not possessed. Many are somewhere in between, learning to ask less assertive questions. One article calls this phenomenon the Dornan effect. Celebrities as Commonwealth versus celebrities as people's movements. A bakery calls its new cake Compass Fong, a thin layer of sugar drawn in the shape of a compass needle. It sells well. Estelle launches a new podcast, When We Stop Owning Others. The podcast ends with a single sentence: "Nobody promised us access to the hearts of our long-distance lovers." The light on the other side. A few years pass. Jamie chooses a role with few words and many glances. He spends the summer sponsoring a reading project for children on the beach, but doesn't send out a press release. Alara completes a small book on memory therapy on paper. "A wrinkle is not a tear," she wrote. "It's how memories fold themselves to survive." Occasionally, they'd appear together in a small cafe. There were no paparazzi, or if there were, they were tired as a storm that no longer finds a reason to be angry. People began to talk about new movies, about new books, about things being made, not things being seen. Maps Lighthouses. A small exhibition opened in a square room like a lightbox. In the middle, the lens of an old lighthouse, rotating very slowly, cast a strip of light like a shell. On the walls were nautical charts from centuries ago. Beneath each map was a note with the letter Q. Coast is a word without a sound, which only makes a sound when it hears footsteps. A lighthouse is a school when all the houses are asleep. You are here. If you are lost, speak up. Someone will bring the light. In the guest book, the initials JD. The strokes paused like a breath. Below, a line. "I found the path because you refused to be the path." People left the room more silently than when they entered. Some checked their phones at the door. Some went home to cook a pot of soup for someone they had forgotten. Someone opened their own memory box and realized, a wrinkle was never a tear. Somewhere, near a shore that had never learned to stand still, a house still lit by the lights of the dead. The house did not ask where anyone came from, only, "Do you want to come in and take shelter from the rain?" And when the door opened, you heard the sound of spoons hitting bowls, the sound of rain rolling on the bars, the sound of a city from a camera. And that's enough. No need to win, no need to apologize. Just know that love, when it's not about selling tickets, can go further than any hashtag.